Hi, it's Suzie from Nail Care Education, and I've got pointy, like a small stiletto on, and we're going to convert these to an oval. I've got one naked so we can start fresh with a form. Let's get started. So you can see I have the pointy. I did remove the polish off of this hand so we can get started, and I've taken this one right off so we can start right from a form. So often a clients will come in with a shape and they want to convert to another shape. So with this one, it's relatively easy-ish for going from the pointy to the oval. And what I'll do is, this is the pointy, and I'm just going to show you how you can take off a tip. Now, if they want it the same length, you may have to form it. But if they want to go a little shorter, most clients do shorten their nails a little bit in between coming in for each fill. We just want to take off the tip. So we're going to do that. I'm not able to do it to show you completely, but do this. Take the tip right off. And you can see how I've taken the tip off. It almost now looks like a really skinny coffin. So then I'm going to take the tip off the other ones just to see if we can turn them right into oval. Now it's kind of difficult when you're doing your own, but if you're doing a client, hold their finger here, put a lot of pressure on it, because there's nothing worse than when you file, see the finger wobbling back and forth? That doesn't feel comfortable. But if you brace it, it's hard to do when I'm just doing one, but if you brace it and hold it, see how much easier that is to be able to file off for a client? Otherwise, it's like back and forth. That's not comfortable. So I'm gonna file this right down. I'm taking off the tip, and if I just oval the one side, like soften those points and just keep going back and forth, you can very quickly turn that into an oval. It's a very narrow oval because of the fact that it was already a point to begin with. So you can see that you can make it quite a narrow oval. So there's all sorts of different ovals she may want, and one may be a very round oval or a very narrow pointy oval. Some likes to come straight up on the side and then round the tip. Some like to come up a bit on an angle like that and then round the tip. So many new shapes out there now. Before we used to just have square and round. Okay, so just keep going at it until you feel like you're getting the shape that you want. And if you've got a really good file, this is a 180 on both sides. This is a really good professional file, and it really takes away a lot of product with just a few swipes. So you don't want to over file it, because then you don't want to add acrylic. I mean, you can always go back and add acrylic, but it's always a pain. It also cuts into your time for your appointment. So there we've got a couple of little ovals. Okay, so you can go with that for an oval just like that. And if she wants a bit of a fatter oval, you'll have to form it and fatten up the sides. So what I'm going to do now is form this and make an oval from scratch to show you what that looks like. So I've taken off most of it. I'm just going to buff the surface of it just a little bit. And then I'm going to apply product. Okay, so I'm going to start with that. I'm going to put the form on. I really like these forms. These forms are by OPI, and they're just awesome. They have the right amount of stiffness to them, but they're also nice and relaxed, but they're pretty nice form. So you can see that it says free forms on it. They're not free. I think that's the style of form. It's a free form. So when you're forming, I'm going to do a separate video on specific details on forming. So quickly, I'm just going to give you a little rundown. You just want to make sure that your form is underneath the natural nail and acrylic, whatever you're doing, but it must be below the sides specifically. If it's not, the form is sitting too high. So we're just going to form this real quick. And then we can start with the acrylic application. So I've placed the form on it, and I do find that when you pinch the form on the end to get this little teardrop loop like that, see that teardrop loop? If they touch there, it makes the nail quite a bit narrower. In the old days, we didn't do that. When we put a form on, we just put it on the nail and we just left it like that so that the nail kind of flared out. But natural nails don't do that, right? They're very tube-like. So by pinching it, we've learned that we can get a much more narrow look in the nail, which is much, much more natural. So with my colors here, when I'm doing anything on the base, on the nail plate of the nail, I have a little mixture that I have mixed up. And it is a little bit of a dark pink of one color and a little bit maybe of a cover pink of another. And if I want a little brightness to it, I might put a little pinch of another pink in it to kind of boost it up a little bit. So whatever you want, you can kind of mix things up and play with whatever looks good on your nail bed rather than just plain pink or dark pink from any line whatsoever. They offer beautiful colors, but sometimes I like to just snazz it up a little bit. So I'm going to use two colors. I'm going to use a cover pink on the free edge so it's not see-through, so we have a bit more of a opaque look. So it matches the others a little bit more too. So I'm going to start with the opaque free edge part with my liquid to powder. And I'm going to pop that right in there. You know what? That's a little runny. Getting the perfect bead is very important. That's a little runny. I didn't like that. So you make sure that that bead that you put in there is more standing at attention. There you go. Waiting for you to order it around. Waiting for you to tell them where to go. I'm glad that first bead happened because I didn't like it and you need to see that. And then you start telling it where to go. Patting it into place of where you want it to be. And this, in this case, is going to be an oval. So I don't have to make it super square, but I do want to bring my product right to the very side of the side walls of the nail. As the nail exits off of the free edge of my finger, make sure you're bringing all your product right down to that side. And I'll explain that a little bit more in detail. So I think I'm going to go a little bit longer. Just going to get another bead and place them right there. See all that powder on there? You get that, get rid of it. You don't want to have any powder in there because it will look ugly. It can get encased actually, like a wave. It can get underneath it and it don't look good because it stays powder form sometimes and that's not attractive. Okay, so I've taken the end. Now I'm just going to double check those sides. See, that's where I'm pointing my brush right there. I could just put a little bead right in there just to make sure that that bridge point, that arch, that structure spot, that's crucially important. If a client breaks a nail, and it's almost always the index because they're the busiest finger, if she breaks a nail, it's going to be a stress crack right in that spot. So you must make sure that that is nice and secure and happy. And then I will check the other side just to double check. Okay, that's a mess on that side. So I'm going to add just a little baby bead in there and make sure it's on the drier side bead. You don't want it liquid running all over. So just sort of pat them down into that spot. And then see how I'm just patting? I'm not really removing any of it, right? I'm just patting into that spot. Lining it up. Now I'm going to smooth it over. So it saves me less filing. The more I smooth out my acrylic application, the nicer my filing job will be. Okay, so it's a bit lumpy and bumpy, but that's okay. We're working on them. So now I'm going to take the nail plate bead. I'm going to gather him. This is liquid to powder ratio. So for those beginners, this is acrylic and it comes in a liquid form and it comes in a powder form. And when you mix the two together, it creates this substance that you can play with and create and mold into these beautiful shapes. So now I'm just blending this into the rest of the nail, getting my arch in there. That's quite a strong arch. I can file as much of it out as I like. So I'm just going to add one more bead on the end, thicken the end up a little bit. I can always thin it out later, but I don't want it too thin because she go and break it. It's an index and it's a busy finger. So I'm just going to thicken that up. Once it's cured, we're going to come back and file. Okay, so I'm just ovaling up the other fingers before we get going. And now here's my finger, and now I'm going to start filing it to match the other fingers. So when you're filing an oval, you're not going straight up and down. You can see how it's got a bit of a taper. You want to make sure that you're filing, but you never want to go square on the top. You're going to keep that file like that, okay? So I'm always curving in when I file. I'm always, like a slow motion would be, I'm curving in like this when I'm doing the oval shape. So for those of you who are inquiring about or asking me if I use a ventilation system of some sort or wear a mask, I do wear a mask every day when I'm working with my clients. And I also have a ventilation system on my desk. It's called Aerovex. It's very effective. It's a little on the loud side, especially when we're trying to record. When you're in salon, it's fine. But when we're trying to record and get the proper sound so you understand the instruction here, we just don't want to have it going at the same time. But they are very effective units. I very much like them. I'll show it to you one day. Okay, so now I'm starting to get my oval shape. You can see it's a little bit thicker, so I'm trying to match these other guys. Like I said, unless I'm gonna get a form and fatten these guys up, it just depends on which oval shape you're going for. If you're doing a real tapered oval or a fatter one or even a fatter one. So I'm trying to match these other ones, and I'm gonna take the tip off this pinky too. I'm trying to hold it, trying to brace it. Okay, so this one here is still a bit high when I put my arch in there. So I'm still filing it down. Now here's a really great tip. When you're filing the sides, when you're going up and down with the sides, and you're going on either side, sometimes you'll notice how the sides of it can still stay fat, but you're still trying to get the sides and you're going like crazy to try to trim those sides down. Well, the trick is move the file in like this at the same time, because the bulk is actually on the top side. So when you're filing like this and you think you're getting it, you can't figure it out, move your file in and you'll start to take away that bulk you're trying to get rid of. You don't want it to be thick, okay? That's a great tip. That took me a while to figure that one out. So I'm gonna remove the bulk off the top with my drill. So I'm just gonna take this carbide bit and I'm going to now I'm only using this carbide bit on acrylic. I never use this thing on natural nail. Never, never. And I'm just thinning out the surface. It's really important when you're filing to not do chop, 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 chop. You want to be able to do a nice fluid movement over top of that nail to keep that roundish motion, that little tunnel. It's like a half a tube. You want to keep that round motion to keep the round nail. It's very effective. I love my drill. Boy, I hope you can hear me with that drill going. I love using a drill. It's so effective. Takes a while to get you good at it. So, keep going at it. If you're getting one, just keep your practice up. But once you get it, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so I'm pretty much getting my arch there. Turn this bad boy off. There we go. And just make sure that your cuticles are nice and smooth. And that'll be in your applications. One of the hardest things to do, it's all hard, but one of the harder things to do is that cuticle application. And it's really crucial, your liquid to powder ratio and how close you get and how smooth you make it to the end result. You can file like crazy, but if it's thick, the application is thick, it's gonna be really tough to get that smooth. So you won't really know how well you did until it starts to grow out a little bit, then you can really tell how well you did. Sign of a great nail technician, what does it look like about 10, 14 days, even up to 4 or 5 weeks? What does it look like after the fill, not the day of? Okay, so we're just going to file that all up now. I'm gonna work on my shapes, my other one, and just match them up all together. And I'm gonna smooth them all over. Beautiful. I'm so used to the pointed, it's gonna take me a while to get used to this now. But it's quite the difference. You can see quite the difference in the shape. So I'm gonna fine tune this one, and I'm gonna smooth it over, get ready for polish. And then we'll look at the reveal pictures, okay? So before we get into the reveal pictures, I've been doing this color at the shop on several clients, and we've been putting this tiny little sparkle. It's really a gentle sparkle. Reminds me of the stars in the sky. It's beautiful. So I'm just going to put a gentle layer of this top coat to show you how gorgeous it is. I absolutely love it. It changes the design so much. Look at that. And I have seen some girls put, when they're finished this, a matte coat on top of this sparkle. I would not have thought matte would look any good over sparkle whatsoever, but try it. I'll have to do a video on it one day. It is surprisingly gorgeous. I don't know why, because the appeal of sparkle is for it to sparkle. And when you put the matte on top of it, it just takes away all the sparkle. But yet, for some reason, it looks so cool. So there. So there's the difference between my pointy, which I was very much loving and very much used to now this oval shape. It's very pretty. I won't poke any more plastic bags, that's for sure, or myself a couple of times in the chin. Oh, and I wanted to say something to Chevelle, who's going to sleep just after the video. Sleep tight, sweetie. Okay, now we can check out the reveal pictures. So like I say, back when I first started doing this, we really just did oval and square, and I think that was about it. Now we have so many shapes to choose from. I really was averse to the pointy ones or the almonds, but I'm really loving them now. And this soft round shape, sort of a long round oval, is actually really pretty. And maybe by the time a few weeks go by, I'll grow to love this one too, but I'm still in love with this one. Anyway, that was fun. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.